The wheel is turning, and it means that we are live on YouTube. And it's time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John DiNallo, who's that, if you need to walk away, go get your sunglasses so that, the blaring orange doesn't get to you. But welcome back, John.
Oh, good. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Paul. Looking forward to a great show.
We're live, Paul.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Before, in case you're wondering what we're talking about, this is What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. I'm Paul Seaburn, your host and producer and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform, and we're talking about our old friend John DiNallo, and co-host and color commentator and host of What in the World of Sports. He's back. He's back. He was out last week helping us with the election, and now he's supporting the Cleveland Browns with his, I'm sure that's official Browns paraphernalia you're wearing.
Yes, it is, Paul and Karen.
and he was even at the preseason game. Remember when it was called Exhibition?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. When we were younger, it was called exhibition games.
Exhibition. Yeah, and in fact, we're in Northeast Ohio, for those of you who aren't aware of that, which is in the Cleveland area. And way back when, John, I know you remember this, there was a time when during the exhibition season, the Browns would have an exhibition doubleheader. Do you remember that?
Well, I remember, and believe it or not, I attended many of those exhibition doubleheaders.
Wow. Yeah. That's a long day of sitting on those hard wooden seats at the old Cleveland Stadium.
Yes, it was. But, at that time, I was very young, and it was like something I was very interested in. So it seemed like the time flew by. But, yeah, that's think of that. It's like 8 quarters of football you're watching, and then also an intermission in between. So
it's a lot of beer. An awful lot of beer.
No, we weren't able to drink at that time. At that time we weren't able to drink. So anyway.
Okay. All right. So
that goes back to
there we go. Enough Cleveland history here for all of you who are not in the Cleveland area. What in the World is everybody's favorite weird news show? Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. We hope that you join us every week. We hope. Karen says we're live on YouTube. I know we have a number of our friends who watch us live. One of them in particular, I want to wish a happy birthday to. That would be Tex Chick down in Texas. She's always looking to see to watch us live. So Tex Chick, happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Yes. I'm not going to reveal her age. She is beautiful at any age. Okay, so I lost my train of thought there. So what are we going to talk about today on What in the World? We cover the gamut of weird news from around the world, around the universe sometimes. Got some of John's favorite stories this week. Since he wasn't here last week, we've got an overabundance of sports stories. The world's fastest mom, we're going to talk about her. A lot of bull from the Iowa State Fair. Bigfoot photos. I got Bigfoot photos for you, John, from Utah. New uses for phone booths. This was very popular on Facebook today, as a matter of fact. This is an interesting one. Why Steve Harvey, the host of Family Feud, is mad at burger makers. You will not believe why he's mad at people who make hamburgers. It's unbelievable. And this is another good one. This will be later in the show. Some male actors who, as they age, are starting to look like space aliens. You're not going to believe this. It's a scientific study. They actually did a scientific study on this. So, plus we got some other weird news. We've got trivia. We've got more sports. John's got a weird sport for us. And then we play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. So let's get started with a couple of sports stories. So, John, this one comes from Quebec. First off, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey, Junior Hockey League has banned fighting during the 2023-2024 season. They have banned fighting. In related news, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League has banned hockey during the 2023-2024 season. Because if you can't fight, why go to a hockey game? Why even play?
Yes, that's the word. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's why I go to watch hockey, because I can't really see the puck. You know, it's why have a sport with the main piece of sporting paraphernalia be so tiny that no one can see it? I don't get that. It's like golf, but they fixed golf. You know, now I watch golf. I don't particularly I don't play golf. I won't say anything disparaging about it, but I can remember watching golf on TV when you couldn't see the ball. Now they have those nice yellow lines that follow
Oh,
the
yeah,
ball.
sure.
Yeah, you know what? Do the golfers get that, John? Can you get a little, like a readout where you can watch your ball that way, or?
I don't think they do, but I
No.
like to your point though. The television, the televising of the tournaments are a lot better now. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can follow the
So,
track the ball and so on and so forth a lot better.
well,
And
now that's right. Now think about this. What if other sports started banning the critical element of their very sport? You know, if golf bans putters or balls, if baseball banned spitting and scratching, where would we be?
I don't. Those are hard things to think about, Paul. Those are.
Wait. I'm going to really tax your brain on this one. What if basketball banned players from you taking their fingers and rubbing them on the bottom of their shoes? Have you seen players do that? Seems like they
Sure.
do it constantly.
They do it constantly.
Constantly.
I agree.
John,
I agree. Yeah.
why are they doing that?
I'm not sure, but
Makes it less slippery.
Makes what less slippery? Their
The
fingers,
ball.
their shoes, their head?
No,
What?
the ball. They do that so that their hands are sort of gritty, so it grabs the ball better.
So they rub their hand on their shoe
And they get
so the
dirt and
ball
dust.
is not slippery.
Yep.
Okay. We'll take. Karen's son is a sports mogul in Dallas. So if he, we'll take. In fact, with the WNBA, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
the Dallas Wings, our friends. So I'll take your word for it that you know. Now, my guess was that that the players had a deal. They were lifting their foot up and calling attention so that the camera could see the logo on their shoe.
Well, maybe two. Yeah.
oh, that's a distinct possibility. Sure.
Oh, Michael Jordan started it, and they all get the millions of dollars for their shoes
That's
now.
right.
So yeah, that's what I kind of agree with that. I figured they're getting some kind of grip. So anyways, learn something new every day on What in the World. A little bit of sports trivia. Okay, here's another one. World record. This one comes from Winnipeg, Canada. Also, another Canadian. This isn't a Canadian sport. You'll see. So an acrobat by the name of Daniel Craig set a Guinness World Record when he spun nonstop in a Sir wheel for 40 minutes and 8 seconds. Now, if you don't know what a Sir, and Sir is spelled C-Y-R, Sir. I'll tell you why it's spelled that way. So this is a Sir wheel. I've got a photo of it here. For those of you who are listening, if you're listening to us in your ear and not watching us on YouTube, I do have a number of photographs that go with our stories. So it's always worth it to watch us on YouTube. If you do, please follow us. Do all the stuff there so we know you're there. To explain to you, a Sir wheel is a wheel of aluminum, about 6, maybe 7 feet in diameter. And a person stands inside of it and holds they kind of pressure themselves into it so that they can spin around in circles. And this particular guy spun himself around like for 40 minutes. The only thing I can think of is that he had a lifelong dream to become a quarter and see what George Washington felt like when you spin a quarter. What else could it be? John, would you do something like that? Spin around in a wheel?
Paul, I actually would never even attempt it.
No, there's not enough beer, as they say.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
I don't know if you want to be drinking beer and spinning around in this thing. So the Sir wheel takes its name from Daniel Sir, who apparently revived it. It was an old sport, by old, maybe in the 1800s, a circus activity, and then it went into dormancy. And this guy brought it back in the mid 1900s, Yeah, mid 1950s, 1960s. Because he wanted to do something. He had nothing to do in the circus. It was either spin around in a wheel or pick up elephant poop. And
that was the alternative, I guess, huh? Yeah.
I'd rather spin in a wheel too. And of course, there's always the danger of spinning into some elephant poop.
The people behind him don't look all that interested in looking at him.
Yeah, that's a good point, Karen. They're really kind of distracted.
Yeah.
Really.
This is not the circus. These are the Guinness World Record people. Apparently one of those people is counting how many times he spins around. And the other one's looking at his watch. What else is there to do for 40 minutes when some yo-yo's around in front of you? Well,
you're right.
I mean, you got to stay awake. That's about it.
I like your choice of words there, Paul. Yo-yo.
Oh yeah. There's another sport. That's right. That's what he could do. The thing that amazes me is you see where his hands are. For those of you who can't see, his hands are wrapped completely around the outside of the wheel. So when he rolls over his fingers.
Ooh.
Unless he
really.
Well, I can't move my hands that quickly. Wow. So he's running over his fingers constantly. I don't get it. So there's actually what he did. There is actually a real maneuver in the sport of sear spinning. It's called the flat spin. Flat spin. That's what it is. The coin. It's called the coin. That's what it's called. So I had guessed right. And you spin around like a coin, and then if you go to a circus where they allow betting, you bet on whether he lands heads or tails. So add a little excitement to the circus. I would bet on whether he landed in elephant poop or not. I think that'd be more fun. But anyway, so weird looking sport right there. Okay, another world record, another sport here. This one's from Alaska. Wait till you see this. So this cyclist, Will Walker, he's getting bored with riding on a normal bicycle, riding in a normal way on a bicycle. So he started riding like this. Oh, there's another guy on one of those steer wheels. Here, he's upside down now. So you can see where his hands are. He kind of moves his hands out of the way, but still keeps his hand on the wheel. Right. I don't know. I forget it. It's so there. So here he is. So if you can't see this, the man is sitting on the handlebars of his bicycle, facing backwards, facing towards the seat. In this position, this gentleman from Alaska rode 500 miles across Iowa to set the world record for the longest amount of for the farthest distance riding backwards on a bicycle.
He has to have a stiff neck.
Wow.
Well, you're right. Well, no, he had to look over his shoulder to see where he was going.
Yeah.
But another part of his body was even more sore, Karen, because he also had to ring the bell on the handlebars without using his hand. So I'm not sure how he did that. But
oh boy, leave that to everyone's imagination, Paul.
You remember those days, John and Karen, and those of you of a certain age.
Sure. Yes,
we all had those little ringing things on our bicycles.
On your handlebars, Mm-hmm.
So Karen always asks at this point, how on earth does anybody come up with an idea like this? Or why would they do it? And the answer is, it was that one of those people standing next to him bet him to do it. And he said, hold my beer and watch this. And the next thing you know,
500 miles later, right? Wow.
That's right. Boy, 500 miles later. In the year 2023, prior to this, what is it? Motherhood is the necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. Sorry, I knew I'd get the brain fart out of my head. It used to be necessity is the mother of invention. Now it's friends who will hold your beer is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
That's my new motto.
Okay.
This guy should run for president, because during this race, he was riding with people who were riding normally. He always looked like he was in front because he was facing in the opposite direction.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He's in Iowa. It would have been perfect during the, all the campaigning is going on in Iowa right now. Now, you know our rule, we don't talk about politics, but because he's in Iowa, I wanted to mention it. And also it's a good lead into our next story, which is about something that happened at the Iowa State Fair other than all of the presidential candidates campaigning there. And that is that they unveiled the 2023 model of the world's largest cow made out of butter, the butter cow. Now this is a huge event at the Iowa State Fair every I just put up a photo. That's what Karen is remarking about. Pretty disgusting looking, isn't it? So this is 600 pounds of butter shaped like a bovine. Pure creamy Iowa butter, not just any kind of butter, pure creamy Iowa butter, 600 pounds and feet tall and is 8 feet long. It would butter 19,200 slices of bread if you were allowed to get anywhere near it with a knife, which would take the average person 2 years to consume. I'm not sure how many slices you would be allowed to eat a day. But anyways, my question is, which end do you start at? Do you start with the nose?
Paul and Karen, an audience. So what do they do with this? What do they do with this cow?
Good question. Good question. Believe it or not, they recycle the butter and they save it for the next year. And this butter has been used for 10 years now. It's the
same. My gosh.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure they have to add a little bit, because they want to break the record every year of a slightly bigger butter cow every year. Yeah. They've never missed building this butter cow except during COVID. During COVID, that year they had to make an I can't believe it's not butter cow.
Oh.
Paul, where's your heart on that one?
Well, thank you, John. I forgot about that. Speaking of which, now this is not a run-of-the-mill activity, this creating of the butter cow in Iowa. There's only been 5 people who have been designated as butter cow craftsperson, and I say that because they're both male and female. Starting in 1911, so it's over 100 years, only 5 people have been allowed to do it. First 2 were men, I think first 3 were men, and then Norma Lyon of Toledo, Ohio she took over in 1960. And now the 5th person is also a woman, but get a load of this. She had to spend 15 years apprenticing under the previous woman before she was allowed to become the head cow butter sculptor.
Wow.
15 years waiting. That's utterly ridiculous.
It's a labor of
love.
Wow.
So they don't just do cows. Luckily, she has other things to do. She also carves people, and they've had a number of famous people carved out of butter there. They had Elvis one year. And you know what happened? He got all shook up, and they ended up with buttermilk.
Get the horn out, Paul. Get the.
Yeah, I better have it ready here. John Wayne. They had John Wayne. Big mistake. People tasted it, and they said it tasted truly gritty. I know. Tiger Woods. They had Tiger Woods one year. That was the year that all of the slices of butter went to the right. Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. They had Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. They actually had 8 dwarfs, but Melty had a problem. So now here's one for you, John. Kurt Warner. You remember Kurt Warner?
Sure, of course.
Kurt Warner, football
quarterback.
That's right. Kurt Warner went to the University of Northern Iowa, graduated in 1983. He was 93. He's an Iowa boy, so Iowa native. They loved him. They made him out of butter one year because not only the year he made it into the NFL Hall of Fame, he is also in the Arena Football League Hall of Fame. Only player to make it into both of those halls of fame. Very controversial year, by the way, very controversial sculptor, because the woman who was doing it at the time was not a football fan. And she misunderstood Warner when he told her to pose him doing a naked reverse.
Oh, you're doing your own horn there. That's good.
That's right. I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing it with. Okay. So on the subject of food, on the subject of food, Subway announced that nearly 10,000 people answered an ad, which a contest that said if they would legally change their first name to Subway, they would get a lifetime supply of Subway sandwiches. 10,000 people offered to change their name to Subway. They had one winner, and then they had 999 people named Subway who went to Jimmy John's, and then they went back to the office to change their name back to whatever it was. Would you do that? Would you change your name just for a lifetime supply of food?
Not me.
Well, in fact, I know that I would. No.
Not for any kind of food, John?
Well, Italian food, I'd have to reconsider that. So
that's what I was thinking. What kind of food would I change my name for? And I came up with a couple of ideas. One, and you'll figure out why I came up with them. One of them would be I'd change my name for a candy bar, in particular, Peter Paul Mounds. That would I wouldn't have to change much on my business card.
Right.
I change it for M&M's because that's still got, it's kind of initials. Or if I had to change it to something completely different, I'd do Skippy, because Skippy's not a bad nickname. So anyway, that was Peter Paul Mounds, I guess, is the winner.
All right.
Okay. So this is, I'll take that cow down. We don't need to be looking at that cow right there. There we go. All right. So this one comes from Lakeland, Colorado. I do have I have a photo that goes with this. I forgot. So a driver was driving their car, and they were trying to park it. It was a Hyundai. They were trying to park it in front of this business. They picked the wrong business to park in front of for what they did. Somehow they didn't know what they were doing, and they ended up driving through the front of the building. Now, as bad as that is, it was made worse by the fact that it was a driving school.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Here's a photo of a car through the window of right underneath a sign that says "Learn to Drive." Great advertising, I guess, in a way.
Art imitates life, right?
Yeah. Now, what I found out, this was in Lakeland, Colorado, and it turns out Lakeland, Colorado has book banning going on right now. And one of the books they banned was the owner's manual to foreign cars. So, you can't blame the person. They couldn't get the manual, so they might have got the gas and brake mixed up. Anyway, it was a Hyundai, which I thought was interesting because by the time the cops got there, someone had already stolen the car, so they didn't even need to tow it. I get Bigfoot to moan on that one.
Oh yeah.
That's for people in Cleveland got that joke because in Cleveland they're stealing Kias and Hyundais. I don't know if it's happening around the rest of the world, but so this driving through buildings is becoming all too common. Believe it or not, it has happened to the lovely Donna and I. Happened twice when we lived in Houston. Once a car actually hit the corner of our house. We lived at the end of a street, and the other time it went right in between our house and our neighbor's house and hit the house behind us. So needless to say, that's one of the reasons why we live in Cleveland. But we went to a neighborhood picnic this weekend, and one of our neighbor's moms was with her, and we asked what she was doing there, and she said a car just drove through my condo in Parma, Ohio. She lives right by Parma town, the big mall there, and on the first floor. And somehow the driver got lost, mixed up, drove through the front door. It didn't hit her, thank goodness, she was fine, but it hit her refrigerator, and there was kielbasa everywhere. In Parma, that breaks everybody's heart. The humanity, So anyway. Now, this happened in Dallas. Karen's son he may have heard this story. He lives down in the Dallas area. Man in Dallas went to answer his doorbell because his doorbell's ringing and ringing and ringing. But he looks out there, he can't see anybody out there. he goes to open the door and he goes into the Ring camera, and what was ringing his doorbell was this. There was a wasp ringing his doorbell.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, you see it over there, boy, big fat wasp looking right at him. Even more shocking, why the wasp was there. The wasp was there because it had just finished building a nest down the street, and it still had paper and glue left over that it was trying to sell for half price. So, you know, I mean, what would you do if you looked out your Ring? I know Karen has a Ring. John, I think you have one of those cameras. What would you do if you looked out there and you saw a wasp trying to ring
I would
your
be
door?
sure not to try to go outside at that time.
Yeah.
I would make sure he flew away before I would go outside.
Head for the window. That's right. That's right. Okay. So speaking of weird animals, John's been waiting for this. Our weird animal of the day is Bigfoot, of course. The Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, big researchers, they were investigating an alleged Bigfoot sighting in Montana. I think I said Utah before. It was actually in Montana. And they found 19-inch footprints in the woods. Now, I don't have a photo of the footprints, but some people who had been walking nearby saw something in the woods about the time that the footprints were found. So here's the first thing that they saw. What they think they saw was a Bigfoot looking at them, watching them as they were watching Bigfoot. And of course, we have the convenient red circle to show you, if you're watching on YouTube, where the alleged Bigfoot is standing. They also have a second photo, which I'll bring up over here. This one's not quite as good. Again, thank goodness they have the valuable circle so we can see what they thought was Bigfoot. So Bigfoot is watching them. So I'm thinking, the writer's strike in Hollywood must have affected Bigfoot because, nothing to watch on TV. Might as well go out in the woods and watch humans watching him. So that's kind of what's going on over there. 19-inch feet. If I had, what do you clip your toenails with when you have 19-inch feet? And
wow,
you live in the
that's
woods?
a dilemma. That's a real dilemma, yeah.
What do? You catch beavers, and you put a little piece of wood on the end of your toe and hope that he doesn't chop your toe off while he's. So, anyways, so what do you think, John? What do you think of those two photos?
Well, the first one is better than the second one, but again, I have to say it's inconclusive evidence. I mean, it looks like a creature, right? Or it looks like something, but it's really hard to determine that would be a Bigfoot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not a close up. I agree, not a close up. This one could easily be a bear or a tree stump or any number of things. So
I don't
agree
understand. We all have these great zooms on our cell phones now, and nobody can zoom in to get a good picture.
Well, maybe this photo is as zoomed as it could get, Karen. That's kind of the answer that you'll get is
probably.
So then you take it home and you magnify it on your computer. Well, when you do that, what happens. Everything gets all pixelated,
right.
and so then you feed it into artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence tries to figure out what exactly it is that they're looking at. But do you believe the artificial intelligence when it brings up something that looks like, a real Bigfoot or whatever artificial intelligence thinks a Bigfoot looks like? That's the problem. That's the dilemma that we in the paranormal field have when we deal with things like this. So John is the representative of the sweaty masses that listen to our podcast, and the sweaty masses say, no, that's not a Bigfoot. We can't tell for sure.
What I always find hard to believe, somewhat to Karen's point, is that the clarity of these photos, every one of them is blurry. There's never a clear photo of Sasquatch or the Bigfoot or whatever. And I think that, but just by law of averages, eventually someone will take a photo that's clear and defined.
You would think that, and everyone agrees with you. It's the frustration of watching for Bigfoot, and it's what the skeptics point to all the time. So all I can say is, put your money where your mouth is. John, next time you go walking through through Cuyahoga Valley National Forest, let's see what kind of photos you bring back.
Yeah, I'll try. If I happen to see a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch, I'll be happy to take the best photo that I possibly can. So I'll keep an eye open for them.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, here's something else that's almost as rare, maybe more rare than Bigfoot, and that is a telephone booth. Now, this lady in where is she at? She's in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She's an artist, and she buys decommissioned phone booths from the telephone company and turns them into telepoem booths. I'll tell you what that means. Telepoem booth, registered trademark. You can go in there and using either a rotary or a push button phone, dial a number, and someone will read to you an original story or most likely an original poem.
That's kind of unique.
Yeah, a lot of people think, wow, what a wonderful thing. I think we should have those in every city. I found one guy who didn't think it was such a good idea. He was from Minnesota. And in fact, here's what he told me. He says he went in there and he says, there once was a man from Duluth who ducked into a telephone booth. He called for the time, but instead got a rhyme and uttered some words quite uncouth.
It's not bad, Paul. I think that's pretty good, actually.
So, thank you, thank you. Would you pay 25 cents to hear that?
No.
So, the universe agrees with you. Everybody thinks this is a really good idea. We're hoping that she buys some more phone booths. Phone booths are getting harder and harder to find. Believe it or not, in 1999, there were 2 million phone booths in the United States. Today, only 5% of that number are operational. All the rest are gone. Unbelievable.
Very believable.
Yes, that went away. Yeah. Now, in New York City, what they do is they turn them into Wi-Fi hotspots. So if you find one in New York, you can't make a call on the actual phone that's in there, but you can go in there and get a Wi-Fi connection and make a Wi-Fi call. So for whatever that's worth. Okay. Now, Steve Harvey. I want to talk about Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey is a Cleveland native. So I always love anytime that I can promote one of our beloved graduates of growing up in Cleveland. So, but this has nothing to do with him being a Clevelander or comedy or any of his game shows. It has to do with why he's angry at burger makers. And I'm going to put a photo up here that may give you a hint. Okay. So he's asking people to stop sending him photographs of hamburgers that they say look like him. So I have a picture up here of a hamburger on the left and Steve Harvey on the right. Here's what happened. A lady who won't give her name, but she's a Twitter user. She got a hamburger at a restaurant, and she's looking at it before she took a bite into it. There's a hamburger, 2 slices of onions, and she looks at it and she says, you know what? My hamburger looks like Steve Harvey. So she posted that on Twitter. Now, for those of you who can't see it, the burger looks like, in her mind, Steve Harvey's big bushy mustache. And the 2 onions look like his upper and lower teeth. Again, according to this lady. It went viral, and all kind of people agreed that hamburgers look like Steve Harvey. So poor Steve Harvey is now being swamped with photographs of burgers that people say look like him. He said, enough, cease and desist. I don't look anything like a hamburger. I don't know, John. What do you think? Does that look like the hamburger?
No, I don't see it in the least. To be honest with you, I don't see it in the least. That's as much as I'm going to say about that. Karen, what do you think?
Okay, and it's clear. It's not even blurry. It's clear. No. Steve Harvey is blurry. Maybe Steve Harvey is Bigfoot. I don't know. So Steve Harvey was born in Virginia, West Virginia. But early in his childhood, his family moved to Cleveland, Ohio. He lived on East 112th Street, which is now called Steve Harvey Way in his honor. He graduated from Glenville High School in 1974 and spent some time at Kent State before he decided he wanted to go into comedy and move to Hollywood. This guy is the Energizer Bunny of Hollywood. He hosts the Steve Harvey Morning Show. He hosts Family Feud, Celebrity Family Feud Africa, and the court comedy show Judge Steve Harvey. And if it ever comes back, he's the host of the Miss Universe pageant. So this guy, he's got to be a multi-billionaire, and I don't know where he has time to do all that. God bless him.
He's very visible. Yeah, he's very visible. No kidding.
Yeah, from Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah. John or Karen, who was the original host of Family Feud?
Richard Dawson.
Richard Dawson. Very good. That's right. Now, here's an interesting bit of trivia. I'm not even going to ask you. I don't think anybody knows this. I happen to see it. Richard Dawson was not the first choice. And Richard Dawson was the perfect host for Family Feud. The first choice was William Shatner, Captain Kirk.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. This was in 1976. So this was after the show was off the air. So everybody knew he was Captain Kirk. That would have been a completely different show with Captain Kirk as the host of Family Feud. I can't even imagine it. But another bit of Hollywood trivia. Did either of you watch the show Third Rock from the Sun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third Rock from the Sun. Okay. William Shatner played a role on that. He wasn't a regular. He was an irregular. But he was on often enough. Do you remember what his name was? What his character was on Third Rock from the Sun?
No, I don't. I do not.
I guess you don't remember. His name was the Big Giant Head. He was their leader from the other planet, and they used to communicate with him. And that's what they referred to him as, Big Giant Head. Now,
okay.
You know what? John, say something.
Yeah, run.
I lost my sound. I can't believe it. I lost my sound here.
We can hear you fine.
Karen, can you?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I know you can hear me. You want to keep on going, or do you want to try and bring the sound back?
Well, that is up to you.
Do this for keep on going. Do this for bring the sound back.
I say let's do it.
Keep on going. Okay, let's see how we can do this. All right. So, speaking of big giant heads on aliens, this week a news story came out about a study in Hollywood that was called for because a lot of people are saying that Hollywood actors, male actors' heads are becoming so large they're starting to look like aliens. Now, I don't know if you've seen this, but here's a photo of Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, there's Leonardo DiCaprio, and he was young Leonardo DiCaprio today. Karen and John, what do you think? Does Leo's head look bigger? No, Karen doesn't think so. John?
I think so. No, I'm going to say no.
Don't think so. How about this guy? This is Bradley Cooper. His head look bigger?
I think it's the angle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with these,
I think it looks a little bigger myself.
Yeah, I think with these photos.
Let's try this one. That's Ben Affleck. Bigger or smaller?
Too close.
Definitely not smaller.
Too close. So
too close. Here's another one for you, and then I'll get into it. The Rock. Oh, now for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. His head looks. I mean, his neck looks bigger. I don't know about the rest of his head.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. John can relate to the Rock. There's before with hair and without hair. There we go. All right. Here's our last one. John Travolta. Now, come on. Doesn't John Travolta's head today look like it's about 3 times bigger than it was when he was Vinnie Barbarino?
It's too bad he can't hear us right now.
Okay.
It does look big.
Here's the deal. The Duke University, a legitimate college, a professor there who is also an ophthalmologist. I think that's an eye doctor. But anyways, he examined CAT scans of 100 people to determine whether human skulls continue to grow when they get older. And they found out that certain parts of your head continue to grow and change shape as you age. They said facial bones, especially the forehead, grow forward as you age. Other bones like cheekbones move backwards, which may make the forward growth look bigger. And then receding hairlines, I'm sorry to say, makes your forehead look bigger. So it also makes your entire head look bigger. I'm not going to comment on the other the host of our show. All I'm going to say is that I have an old photo of me, and I'm going to show you the old photo of me, and you tell me if my head has gotten bigger or smaller since this photo was taken. So here's the old photo of me. I think my head is smaller today. Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Paul, that looks remarkably like a character from
what we're looking at is a character from an alien from the Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, yes.
The episode To Serve Man. I know if I could hear John, he'd be yelling it out because he knows that's the famous episode with the cookbook. So okay. So one more sports story here. This one, no, I think we'll go right to sports. I think we'll go to sports with John because since I can't hear what's going on, I think we're going to move on to sports and find out the weird sport that John has for this week. So every week I ask John to come up with a strange sport to fit the theme of what in the world. Every week he manages to find one that's more strange than last week. That's easy this week because we didn't have a sport last week because John was busy working at the election booth. But I know he's got a strange sport this week. Let's see. Is this one we can participate in? I'll let you decide while I set up the photos. So why don't you take it away, John?
All right, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. So our sport this week, ladies and gentlemen, is the King of the Mountain race. And what this involves, there's a mountain, and the name of the mountain is Mount Washproof in Australia, and it is the smallest officially registered mountain in the world. And this mountain measures only 138 feet. Every year, thousands of people once gathered at the base of Mount Washproof and lined the local streets of the town of Washproof to watch a race honoring the thing that Washproof was built on, and that is the crop of wheat. The King of the Mountain crown went to the runner with the fastest time carrying a 140-pound sack of wheat on their shoulders in the 1 kilometer or 0.6 mile race to the top. Now, the King of the Mountain race began in Washproof in the 1970s as a friendly competition between what is called the Spud Lumpers from Gippsland, which is a red soil potato growing area in Australia, and the Wheat Lumpers from Washproof. A wheat lumper is a person who carries and stacks heavy bags of grain on trains or trucks for transportation. You can figure out for yourself what a Spud Lumper does. In the interest of equal opportunity, there was also a queen of the mountain for women carrying 44-pound sacks, and even one for kids. The race became known as Australia's toughest foot race. Now, in 1986, James Russell from Eaglehawk in Central Australia, he held the record for the fastest man to the top with a time of 5.02 seconds, 5 minutes, 0.2 seconds. And the former Washproof resident, Annie White, was crowned Queen of the Mountain 6 times from 1978 to 1983. By 1988, the annual race was drawing over 8,000 spectators per event. What was once a local fun run was now attracting sack-carrying runners from every state of Australia, including Western Australia and the Northern Territory, for a weekend that became more of a partying weekend than a running weekend. As a result, the Mount Washproof King of the Mountain race was banned starting in 1988. But we have some good news to report for wheat lumpers. Members of the Washproof Narrowport football and netball clubs have revived the Mount Weisproof King of the Mountain race. It'll be held this year on September 30th on the morning of the Australian Football League Grand Final. And to make things a little easier for the racers, the wheat bag for men will now be reduced from 140 pounds to 132 pounds. And to keep things fun, there will be a family picnic, live music, and football on the big screen TV at the conclusion of the races. Now, if you want to try the Mount Weisproof King of the Mountain race, check with your doctor and think small. We recommend starting with a 5-pound bag of flour and a speed bump.
Love it.
Well, I'm trying to read lips here. I think John is finished there.
Yes, I am, Paul. Yes.
Boy, we could, if I had closed captioning, that would have been great. We'll have to look and see if there's an add-on for that. So great sport, great sport. I can't believe that the mountain is so small, and yet the exertion is obviously just tremendous.
Yeah,
here's a statue of a guy that what do they call them?
Lumpers.
Lumpy carriers.
Oh well, it's either
this is
a stud lumper or a
70 pounds of wheat carried uphill. That is definitely not a sport that you would see John and I participating in. But I think John's advice is good, and that is that start small. And as a matter of fact, John, I don't know if you remember this, but we participated way back when we were in college together in the fraternity. We participated in a sport that was similar to this. It involved carrying, it involved wheat, but as always, and it was a competition with another fraternity that challenged us. I don't know if we were going to be running up and down stairs or what, but as always, we didn't get the instructions quite right. And so we figured we'd get the latest amount of wheat that we could possibly get. And I remembered John and I went to different stores because we lived in different parts of town when we went to school. So John went to get some wheat to carry for his in his half of the competition, and he came back with this, which was a basket of wheat thins and Triscuits. I think
remember this now, Paul.
Which is about how much John can. I think you can carry at least that much today, I would say.
Oh yeah, sure.
Of course, then again, as always, I misunderstood even more than John did because he's much smarter than I am. So I came back with 1 box of cream of wheat. And I made sure I carried it dry. So anyway, there's our story for this week. The King of the Mountain race from Australia, Mount Weisproof, cool name for it. And I think that's about all we're going to say, since I can't hear what everybody's saying back to me. We're going to figure out, here's what we're going to do with Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Game that we play every week after John's What in the World of Sports segment. So each week I have 3 stories that are similar to the ones we've been talking about, except those were all real. These stories may be real, may be a bluff, and it's up to Karen, John, and those of you playing at home, listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, to decide real or bluff. Wagering is allowed, so place your bet. John and Karen, hands on the buzzers. When we're done and I ask you what you think, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and I'll know whether we'll figure out what that means. How's that? Okay. All right, so here comes story number 1. One of the most popular golf courses in Scotland has a most unusual hole-in-one recently. An early morning foursome was teeing off on the first hole when they heard an explosion and a whooshing sound. They looked up and saw a bright light shooting across the sky into some trees ahead of them. Not wanting to lose their spot, they kept on playing and were shocked when they got to the 4th green and saw some burnt grass around the hole. Approaching it cautiously, they found a small but warm rock in the hole, which they removed and continued to play through. One of the golfers took the rock to a local science museum where it was identified as a tiny meteor fragment, which had just fallen, making it the first interplanetary hole-in-one. Okay, so a meteor that makes a hole-in-one at a golf course in Scotland. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
Wow. Just to make it simple,
Oh, Karen says it's a real story. All right, Karen says it's real. John, how about you? John says it's real. You want to give our listeners any reasoning behind that?
Well, I just think that it's possible that something could just land in a hole, on a golf course, part of a meteor. I mean, I think that's very, very plausible.
Okay, so John says it's real using his standard excellent logic as always. So both of you say it's real. If you remember last week, by the way, Karen played for John, and both of them got all 3 right. So they're looking
Thanks,
to
Karen.
get 4 in a row here. So let's check with the judges, and the judges say, sorry, that's a bluff. You're both wrong. There's no such thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, I can see by your reaction that you're not pleased with that result.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
we are not. We thought we were right on that one. Okay.
All right. Well, the good news is that you're still both tied, so anybody can win.
Like kissing your sister.
So let's see. Score 0-0. Let's move on to story number 2. How much do you love your pet pigs? A man in New Zealand loved his so much that he risked his life just to bring them a load of food. He was offered 10 free cases of rotten apples and bananas by a fruit warehouse, but he didn't have a truck to haul them home, and he didn't want his car to smell like rotten fruit. So he carefully stacked the boxes on the front hood of his hatchback, leaving a small opening so he could see. He was almost home when a cop stopped him, gave him a $600 ticket for driving a motor vehicle with an insecure load, and made him put the fruit in his car anyway. The pigs were happy, but after paying the fine and $100 more to fumigate his car, the man is thinking, apple and banana bacon sounds pretty good right now. All right, so the man who got free food for his pigs but couldn't fit it in his car, so he stacked it on the hood, left it, made sense at the time, but not to the cop. What do you say, John? We'll go start with you. Real or bluff? John says it's a bluff. What your reasoning being?
It's just too contrived. I mean, I just don't see a person doing that, going to that extent to put that kind of rotten fruit on the hood of his car, and then on top of it, having a traffic violation for that.
Okay, John says it's a bluff. Karen, how about you? Karen says it's a bluff. Gut feel?
Yep.
Or
Yes.
maybe your strategy is last week John agreed with you, this week you agree with John.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. So that's 2 bluffs. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say, sorry again, that's a real story.
How can
Oh, come on.
I couldn't believe it myself. I could not believe it myself.
It's incredible.
The picture
That's an incredible
is
story.
precious. It's the guy has these boxes in front of the car. It's just like when people drive in the snow in Cleveland, Ohio. Tiny little space cleared out on the window where he could see, and you could tell he was so proud of himself. And then the cop pulls up behind him, and $700 later,
Wow.
he's got a smelly car and unhappy pigs.
It's
If
an
they're still
expensive lesson
alive.
for him. Yeah.
Okay, so the score is still tied at 0-0. Points are doubled in round number 3, but that doesn't really matter here because we could either end up with a tie or one of our players ahead. So let's see what happened with story number 3. If you're looking for something that tastes good, soothes aching muscles, softens your skin, and kills germs all at once, you can't go wrong with Mountain Dew. That's what a couple in Virginia found out after they won a truckload of Mountain Dew in a contest. They couldn't drink all of it, so a friend suggested they fill their hot tub with it. They did and were shocked at the results. Besides them smelling like their favorite soft drink, the hot tub of Dew totally relaxed them and softened their skin. After they emptied the hot tub, they were pleased to see that the Dew cleaned it better than with bleach, left no sticky film, and killed all the germs. While the makers of Mountain Dew aren't interested in promoting this idea, the couple plans to hold more Dew hot tub parties with their friends until their supply runs out. All right, Karen. Hot tubs filled with Mountain Dew, and it's great for everything that ails you. Real or bluff?
I'm hoping it's a bluff.
You're hoping it's not a bluff. Okay.
No, it
you're hoping
is.
So you're hoping it's real.
No, it's a bluff. I'm
No.
sorry.
You're
Bluff.
hoping it's a bluff. Okay.
Sorry.
We need to have a rehearsal just to agree on our sign language for the next show. We better not have to do this again. All right. So Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you? What do you say, Mr. But John, who is an owner of a hot tub, by the way. So
yes, I'm going to say it's a bluff also, because
John says it's
even with the temperature that you have with all that Mountain Dew in there, with all of that sugar and all of that sticky substance to it, I just don't see it. I don't see how that would work out.
Okay, so our resident hot tub expert says it's a bluff as well. Karen says it's a bluff. So that means you both agreed on all three questions.
Yes, we did.
So far, you got agreed on both wrong answers. And now we both say it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges and see what the judges have to say. And the judges say, way to go, that's a bluff. There's no such thing.
All right, Karen, way to go. Way to go.
Very good.
All right.
All right, so John and Karen both go home happy today with the score tied 1-1. That means you're both winners.
Yeah,
just like
good.
everybody who listened to What in the World. We hope every week here on newclevelandradio.net, our platform. So I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul, our co-host, and thank her for everything she does for our show, What in the World, and also for all of the podcasts that she has on New Cleveland Radio. Please visit her, find out how to download us, also how to download all the rest of her free podcasts. They're all great. They're all interesting. Please give her a visit. Support. If you're in Cleveland, so you're supporting a local business. If you're not, you're supporting an entrepreneur, and that's what we need to do more of. So thank you, Karen. Thank you, John. Welcome back, by the way.
You're welcome, Paul, Karen, and audience.
Glad you're back. Yep. I'm glad hopefully we'll see. I don't think there's a Browns game this week, but eventually we're going to see John's favorite team, the Browns, win some games this year. So thanks for everything you do. And the only people I'm not going to thank are the people at Zoom or whoever it is that's messing with my computer and cutting out my sound. I'm hoping that we resolve this by next week. Karen and I will be discussing it at some point in between then and now. Other than that, I'm going to say goodbye for today. Thanks again for everybody joining us. And